count weekends, so it's really more than 10 days. And they have to remove it 10 days after the auction, but it doesn't count weekends, so it's really more than 10 days, plus a day of the auction. So you're really talking 8 auctions a year, which primarily in the summertime, which consumes almost a full month for each one. Not exactly a month, but it's a lot of days. Now, I guess I've been living under the false impression that zoning was created to protect the nature of a community and the tranquility thereof. This last gentleman who spoke said that he heard somebody objected to the noise and the traffic. Well, yes, I do. This didn't occur when we bought our property. It gave us a complete surprise to us. And then we learned that these auctions were being held against the zoning and without a permit. So the permit process began. Now, Mr. House says that he's never had a violation. That must have got John's interest, because he's written a great deal of letters regarding violations over the past 8 years, or 6 years, however many it's been. 8, I think. But there have been numerous violations, numerous things brought back to the board. I will say, for Mr. Howell's benefit, that in the last 12 months, and I think attributable to the fact that you only gave a 12-month permit, for the last 12 months, I have not seen a violation of the current operating rules that were required by the board. Prior to that, there were numerous and frequent. And I think John can attest to that. He's written the letters. But there is no enforcement anyway. One of the rules requires that no piece of equipment can be kept on the property more than 90 days. It has to be stored on top of the hill in an area of 50 feet by 300 feet, I think it said. And nothing can be left there for more than 90 days. But there's literally no mechanism and no enforcement to verify what's being left up there and what's being moved back and forth and left on the property. I also didn't know that the Greenville Methodist Church was making $32,000 off of these auctions. Maybe that explains why the preacher came some years ago and accused me of lying. I was not, I never have. We can see the top of the hill where all that stuff is.
That's all he ever does is lie. 8 sales. Wow.
Straight across, I can count the vehicles up. It's quite a distance, but, and as the other gentleman said, I'm not aware of more than 2 ways to get out of our development. The primary way, which goes past the auction site and going around past Hershey, it's the only 2 ways that I'm familiar with. We've lived here 10 years. I guess you can find 2 or 3 other convoluted ways if you were looking for a part. The most direct way, the most convenient way, is to go past the auction site. I'm glad to see the intersections being redone, but that doesn't affect the road. It's a narrow country road, and as Ms. Brown points out, they bring in these big trailers, from back tractor trailer trucks. They bring in farm equipment on trailers. They've got to make that wide swing in and out. They're hauling stuff in for the 10 days before, the 10 days after. And then on auction day, with the speakers blaring, and it's not just an auctioneer speaking, it's a blaring speaker system that we can hear all the way over to our property. I don't think it's 1.8 miles. I think it's more like maybe a half a mile or so as the crow flies. And in any case, we can hear it. Now, the nature of the community's changed a great deal. There are 2 large residential subdivisions and another one planned on the way. And it was always my opinion or thought that zoning was there for a reason, to protect the community. And clearly, from what you've heard and from what I've heard today, this is becoming a big business. I don't object to auctions. I've gone to some myself, not over there. I like auctions. I enjoy them, and sometimes I'm an active bidder. But there's an appropriate place for them. And as this thing has grown, 8 a year now, and that's almost 8 months a year, it's inappropriate for the location. And it was interesting to hear that other locations have been tried. I'm sure it's created business issues and other expenses, but that's a business. And that's a part of business. This is an area which is residential and rural agricultural, and not certainly an area where it will be appropriate to have 1,000 people coming into an auction on a Saturday and all this traffic back and forth hauling in equipment. opposed it since it started, which was a few years after we moved in. I'm not sure that we would have bought our property under the circumstances, but it's done now. What are you pointing out to me? We understand that there are some requests for item 10, changing hours of operation, but we didn't hear anything specific to that. I don't even know if I should oppose it or agree with it. Maybe they want to shorten the hours. I would agree with it. But mostly I would agree with shortening the options to 1 a year, which apparently they were 1 a year or less, and very infrequent. And then all of a sudden it's boom town. Well, we didn't sell our farm in Vermont and move here to live in boom. So again, this is probably the 4th or 5th or 6th time I've been here. That's how we feel. I know that a lot of the farm community likes the options. They like to buy the equipment. I'm sure they do. But the residential people who live back in that area aren't enjoying it. And I suspect there would be some here, except they're all out working Monday through Friday jobs. I'm retired. I can come to these things and state my piece. And I'm still very confused as to why there seems to be so much interest on the part of this board of promoting a business. Obviously, it's good for the county. But why isn't there an equal interest in protecting the nature of the community? If the zoning was enacted, there must have been a reason. Well, why are we ignoring it now? I don't understand that. Is there anything I need to say? I said my piece.
Thank you. Question I have for the applicant. Is your residence in a subdivision?
Yes. Very, very good.
Thank you.